Hi, this is Gail Nettles with Beaded Jewelry Diva. Today's project is going to be this peyote bracelet made with Superduo beads. You know those wonderful beads that you buy and then you can't figure out what to do with them? Here's a project for you. I call it my waltz bracelet because it's a pattern of 1, 2, 3. And let's go ahead, take a look at the supplies you'll need to get started. Here's what you'll need for supplies. You'll need the thread of your choice. I happen to be using 1G in a gray color. You will need a beading needle. I am using a size 11. Size 12 would also work well. You would need 2 different colors of Superduo beads. I have a dark aqua travertine, I believe, and a turquoise. You will need some size 11 seed beads. You will need 2 wire guardians. I've used silver filled, but you can use any kind of metal you wish. You will need a clasp. I happen to be using a magnetic clasp. And you'll need a pair of scissors. On a comfortable length of thread, go ahead and string on a stop bead and then string on some Superduos in the following pattern. You're going to have 2 turquoise, an aqua, 2 turquoise, an aqua, 2 turquoise. And that's going to be the pattern throughout the entire bracelet. So this is peyote, and in even count peyote we're going to go ahead and skip the last bead and then put our needle through the second bead. Okay, I ended up with 2 turquoise, so my next one is going to be an aqua. So I grab the aqua. I'm going to let this bead hang down, that's my end bead, and then I'm going to put my needle through the top of this next bead. Let me scrunch up my beads here some. Okay. So what I have on the end is starting to look like this. This was the bead I skipped, this was the bead I added, this is the one where the bead is going out the top. What I'm going to do, I had the turquoise, the aqua. My next one is going to have to be another turquoise. So I'm going to skip the next bead, which happens to be an aqua, and I'm going to run my needle up through the top hole of this next bead, which also happens to be a turquoise. Pull tight, and now you can see the peyote pattern is starting to form. Since my last one was a turquoise, I'm going to pick up another turquoise, skip the next bead, which is another turquoise, and put my needle through the next or the following, and that is one of the aquas. Pull my needle through. So now it looks like this. I'm going to scrunch up these beads a little bit. I'm going to, again, ignore this one, leave it, let it drop down. This is the one that I'm going to put my needle through next. The last one I added was a turquoise, so this next one is going to be an aqua. Put it through the top of this end bead and pull it tight. So, and let me pull the stop bead in. So you can see now we do have the classic peyote pattern starting. We have the rows that go down and the rows that go up. What's so neat about this is because we do have the 2 holes on these beads, we can go ahead and use both holes and make things really kind of neat for us. In some ways it makes it a whole lot easier than standard peyote once you've gotten this part started. Okay, you see that my stop bead is coming out of the bottom of this end bead and my thread is coming out of the top of the end bead. Since the last one I added was an aqua, my next one is going to be a turquoise. Skip this bead that the thread's coming out of and run through the top of this aqua. Okay, same thing, another turquoise through this next one, and now you're really just, it's really just the standard peyote. So I've done, let me see, or turquoise, so the next one's going to be aqua. and then the next one turquoise. Okay, so that's 3 now. You are going to continue this pattern until you've got your bracelet as long as you want it. Now you'll notice that on the sides you will see some thread showing. That's okay, because we're going to be doing some embellishment later and you won't be able to see those threads anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and continue up the length of my bracelet, and I will show you what to do once you get to the end. Now you see how the full pattern turns out. Because I'm doing an even number peyote and I'm using an odd number for my pattern, so 2 turquoise and 1 aqua, I end up getting these wonderful angles going this way, then this way, then this way. It's a great pattern, and that's kind of why I call it my waltz, because it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm down at the end, and now we're going to start going ahead and doing the end and the embellishments. So my thread is coming out of this turquoise top hole there. I'm going to add 1 of my seed beads, run it through the top hole of this next one, adding 1 more, size 11, running through the top hole of the next of the Superduos, another seed bead goes through the top of that one, and then 1 more seed bead. So this is what it looks like now at the top, all together in one straight line. And yes, this one's kind of hanging off at the moment, but that's going to end up looking a little straighter in a few moments. Well, actually, when we come back through this line of beads on this side, it'll end up straightening out. Okay, so my thread is coming out of this top turquoise bead, and I really wanted to come out of this hole. So how the heck am I going to go ahead and get it coming out of this hole? Because I want to start branching between this bead and this bead. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm coming down through, let me see if I can show this better. I'm coming down through this bead and then this bead. So these 2 Superduos. I'm coming, this is the same Superduo, I'm coming back up through this hole, and because my thread is going to be on the inside, you're really not going to see this thread. Okay, it's coming up through the top of this bead right here. I'm going to bridge across and come up through the top of this one. So this is where I want to really be coming out. Okay, so that's what it looks like right now. I've got my thread coming out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 size 11s, and with my thread coming out of the top of this aqua, I'm going to go down through this next turquoise. So I've got 2 beads there sticking up. I'm going to come back up through, well, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down through this next one. So I'm coming down through it. I'll make sure I don't tie myself up in knots here, which I think I'm just about ready to do. Okay. There we go. So I just came down through this one, going up through this one again, and then up through the top of this one. So where I started, going through the first of the 2 seed beads, I'm adding a seed bead, coming down through the next one. So what I'm really doing is I'm creating a nice picot. Coming down through the Superduo, And there we go. It's a very nice picot, and it's going to be stable because instead of putting all 3 beads on at once, by putting 2 on and then just 1 in between them, it stabilizes it, and it also stabilizes the bracelet. So at this point, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up under this bead. So now I'm going to work on the undersides of these beads. So I add 2 seed beads, go down through the next one, back up through, up through the seed bead, add a new seed bead, back down through, and then back down through the Superduo. That gives me 1 more picot. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing all the way down the bracelet, but I'll show you one more time for good luck. So coming up, adding 2 seed beads, coming down through the next Superduo, back up through the original Superduo, up through the first seed bead, add a seed bead, come back down through the next seed bead, down through the bottom of the Superduo, and then up through the next hole on the Superduo. Let me go ahead and finish that up, and I will be back when I finish going through this entire bracelet and embellish both sides. You can see that I've done picots on both sides of the bracelet. I'm now back to the side that I started on. So this is the side where I first put on that 1 seed bead. My thread is coming out of the top of this seed bead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 seed beads and run it up through this seed bead. So really what I'm kind of doing is creating a nicer edge instead of just having that 1 seed bead hang off the end. Okay, I'm running my needle through the Superduo, seed bead, Superduo, and I think another seed bead, Superduo. So I'm coming out of this Superduo right here. What I want to do now is put on the first part of the clasp. What I'm going to do is I'm going to string on 2 size 11s, run these down. I'm going to string on my wire guardian. Now I do have a video on how to use wire guardians, so you may want to refer to that video for a little bit more information on how to use these. But I've got the first part of it on. Now I'm going to go down through the other side of the guardian. So it looks like this. I'm going to put on the first half of the clasp. So here's the first half. Now I'm going to run it down through and through the guardian. If I can. It's a little bit of a tight fit. There we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And the guardian, this particular clasp has pretty sharp edges, so this guardian is going to prevent the sharp edges of this clasp from rubbing up against the wire and cutting it, which we don't want to have happen. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 seed beads, and I'm going to come back through this Superduo, the seed bead and the Superduo. So that's really my loop. So this is what it looks like now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run my needle up through this a few more times, and I'll come back when I've got my needle finished running through the loops. I've finished reinforcing, so I went through about 3 times. I would suggest going around as many times as you can safely fit your thread through. Now I'm coming out of this end Superduo, so I'm going to go ahead and put it through the next seed bead. So that kind of closes it a little bit, so it makes it a little bit more even. Then through this next Superduo top hole, and then what I'm just going to do is, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and end this thread. I'm going to go down through this Superduo and then just weave in and out of these beads. And I'm going to go in a snaky trail. And doing this, I really don't have to tie knots, because the ins and outs and arounds of going through all the beads, it will stiffen my thread and keep it in place. If you aren't quite sure about that, by all means, tie a few half hitches and everything. I'm going to go ahead, finish this up, and then I'll catch you on the other side. I've gone ahead and finished the other end. It's really a mirror image of the first side. So if you have any questions about where you should go ahead and run your thread through for the wire guardians, just go ahead and compare them like this, and you'll be able to tell which beads they should run through. So let's go ahead. Now you can see that it's nice and even. So it's not shifting on one side or the other. So this is my waltz bracelet, named because it is a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and done with Superduo beads with a seed bead picot on the side. I hope you've enjoyed making this bracelet. I would love to have you come visit me at www.beadedjewelrydiva.com and say hi. Also, remember, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. Once again, this is Gail Nettles, Beaded Jewelry Diva. Have yourself a wonderful beading day. Bye.